I've recently gotten to reading solely because of TikTok. BookTok is just throwing these recommendations at me left and right, and I'm falling for each and every single one. So I have 7 really popular BookTok books to share with you guys today. I'm going to give you a little summary of them, my rating, thoughts on them, and also would I recommend them or not. These are the 7 books we're going to be talking about today. I have a lot of thoughts, so let's just jump right into this. Let's start with the queen, Colleen Hoover, because if you've been on BookTok for any length of time, I guarantee Colleen Hoover books have been all you can see because they're just absolutely everywhere. Everyone recommends them, everyone raves about them. They are so hyped up. It Ends With Us. Let's do a quick little synopsis of this. So this one is based in Boston, which is why it's the first one I picked up, because I also live in Boston, so I thought it'd be really cool to see a book with that setting. And it's about a girl named Lily, and she meets this neurosurgeon named Ryle on a roof. They hit it off, instant chemistry, and we are seeing their love story progress in the present. And we're also having flashbacks of a boy from Lily's past, and they had a little relationship occurring in high school, and Atlas was the boy's name. He was actually homeless. Atlas comes back into Lily's life when she runs into him again in Boston, and there is some friction, some tension with that. This book is so beautiful, and I think it is worth every single bit of hype that it has. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. This book does talk a lot about domestic violence, so if that's triggering for you, one's probably not the best book for you. November 9, also by Colleen Hoover, a very hyped up book. I see it everywhere. People love it. This book follows Fallon and Ben, another romance book. Colleen Hoover mostly writes romance. They meet in LA and they meet at a restaurant and they end up really hitting it off, but Fallon is actually supposed to move to New York the next day, but they just had so much chemistry instantly that they decided they will meet up every year on November 9th, but not have any other contact throughout the year. We see, I think, 5 or 6 November 9ths. I think they're from ages 18 to 23. And this book, I'm sorry, I think this is so overhyped and I did not like it at all. I found it so cheesy, so cringy, very cliche, and I think that maybe this would be better suited for a younger audience. I feel like if you're late high school age, like maybe like 16, 18, maybe this would be a more interesting read for you, but I just could not vibe with the very immature romance that this book has. I think this book is supposed to be for 18 and up. Like, I think that's where it's marketed. The love is so immature and so cliche that I feel like no. I absolutely hated Ben. I found him so revolting. If you've read this book and you know the way that Ben acted and the things that he said on their first November 9th, so gross. Like, he was just doing things and saying things to Fallon without consent. I hated this book and I don't recommend it. I'm so sorry, Colleen Hoover. I love everything else. This is not it. Then we have Verity by Colleen Hoover. This book right here is my favorite book that I've read so far. An easy 5 out of 5. It broke the scale. It broke the scale. This is such a beautiful romantic thriller. Colleen Hoover, why are we not writing more thrillers? Because this book was so good. Little synopsis. We have a struggling writer. Her name is Lowen, and she gets offered to finish a book series for a very successful writer named Verity, who cannot complete her series because she was in a really tragic accident. She ends up going to Verity's house, where Verity's husband and son also live, and Lowen is going through Verity's office trying to find some notes or anything that could help her finish writing the series, and she ends up coming across an autobiography that Verity wrote, and it is chilling, so disturbing, so horrifying. We're learning about Verity's life through her own words. It's a really disturbing thriller, and it just, you don't know what's gonna happen. A really big page turner, and I just was so eager to know how this played out. And then the ending, it leaves you just guessing. It leaves you just wondering what happened. It's kind of up to your own interpretation. I don't know how else to describe this book without giving away the things, because I really just want you guys to read this and experience it for yourself and uncover the truths. It's so good. Just trust me on this one. If you want to read any BookTok recommended book, Verity. People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. Emily Henry also wrote Beach Read, which is a very popular BookTok book that I have purchased but haven't read yet. But this was a very sweet kind of beach read, summer romance. So this book is about Alex and Poppy. They are college best friends, and it's a friends to lovers book. And Alex and Poppy every year would go on a vacation together. One year something goes wrong and their friendship has been really struggling since. They haven't really spoken in years, but Poppy just cares for Alex so much that she wants to kind of rekindle the friendship. So she convinces him to go on another vacation with her, and she's trying to patch everything up. This book is dual timelines, so we are going through all their past vacations together, but also experiencing the vacation that they're currently on when they're trying to rekindle their friendship. Really just had the butterflies, the warm and fuzzy feelings. It was one of those books that just made me smile, and I really loved that. It was very lighthearted, easy read. But what I didn't like was the past vacations, so pretty much like half of the book I found to be a little bit more boring. I just didn't care as much about the past vacations as I did the current vacation that they were on and how their relationship was doing in the present. And I also just didn't love Poppy as much. I felt like she was a bit annoying. She was always so energetic and so hyper, and I just couldn't relate to her, whereas Alex was very sensitive and shy and reserved, and I loved his character. Alex's dreams. The Unhoneymooners by Christina, another really great beach summer read. It's a rom-com and I absolutely love this book. This is about a girl named Olive who has a twin sister named Amy. Amy is marrying some guy. I forget his name. What's his? Dane. Amy is marrying Dane, and Dane has a brother, Ethan. So that's a whole lot. But at the wedding, everyone gets food poisoning except for Olive and Ethan, and they are enemies, but everyone else is sick and there's no one to go on the honeymoon together. So Olive and Ethan end up going together, and it's a very great enemies to lovers storyline. There's some romance, there's some side storylines that I found really interesting. Silent Patient by Alex Michaelides. I hope I said that right. This is a psychological thriller, and I really like this book. The plot is so interesting. It's about a girl named Alicia, and one day she comes home, shoots her husband Gabriel in the face, and it never speaks again. So there's a psychotherapist named Theo who's talking to her, trying to get through to her and trying to figure out what happened, but Alicia just won't speak. This book is a page turner. You obviously want to know what happened because that story about Alicia is so chilling and confusing, and it just doesn't really make any sense why she just wouldn't talk. There is a big twist in this book. What I did not like about it was that a lot of things were left unaddressed or unanswered. The author kind of put some things in there making you think this would be something, but they ended up being nothing, was never really talked about. But other than that, loved it. Lastly, we have Malibu Rising by Jenkins, a very hyped TikTok author. She also wrote The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo and Daisy Jones and the Six. All of them are all over TikTok, but I picked up Malibu Rising first and I hated it. This follows the Ribbo family, and we have 2 timelines. We have the Ribbo family growing up, and then we have them in the present. And the present storyline takes place in just one day, the day that the Ribbo family throws this big party. And I found this book just to be really boring. There wasn't enough plot. It was very character driven. And then in the last 50 to 100 pages, Jenkins Reid introduces like 50 new characters, and they have their own storylines, and it made it very confusing and muddied and very hard to follow. It was just unnecessary. It made the story confusing and it didn't add anything to it. I just didn't like this book. If you like character driven stories, maybe you'd like this, or historical fictions, but it's not my cup of tea. So 2 out of 5 for this one, and that's pretty generous. Those are all of the book talk books that I have read. I am really eager to do more of these videos because I'm constantly buying books that TikTok tells me to. So if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, comment down below, and subscribe, and I will definitely film more of them. I love you guys, and I will see you in my next video.